New Year's Eve wasn't supposed to go like this. My plan was simple: stay home, watch TV, and maybe call my parents at midnight. But my friend Nikhil convinced me otherwise. "Ravi, you're wasting your life. Come to this party. Lots of people, drinks, and a great view of the fireworks." I hesitated, but he kept pushing, so I gave in. That's how I ended up at an isolated farmhouse on the outskirts of town, surrounded by strangers and a few familiar faces. The house was old but beautiful, with dim lighting that gave it an odd, almost eerie charm. The party was already in full swing when we arrived. People laughed, music blared, and glasses clinked. For the first hour, I stuck close to Nikhil, sipping a beer and awkwardly smiling at small talk. Around 11 p.m. the power flickered. Just for a moment, but enough to make people glance at each other. The music skipped, then came back. Someone joked about the house being haunted, and everyone laughed. Everyone but me. I didn't like the vibe of the place. It wasn't just the isolation or the power flicker. It was something else, an uneasiness I couldn't explain. At 11:30 p.m., a stranger walked in. He wasn't part of the party, that much was clear. He was older than most of us, maybe in his 40s, wearing a dark coat and carrying a small leather bag. His face was pale, almost sickly, and his eyes darted around the room as if searching for someone. "Who's that guy?" I whispered to Nikhil. "No idea," he said, frowning. The man didn't say a word. He just stood near the door, watching. No one seemed to acknowledge him, though I was sure everyone noticed. By 11:45 p.m., the mood had shifted. People were quieter, glancing at the man, whispering nervously. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there, still as a statue, but his presence was suffocating. I decided to leave. "Nikhil, let's go," I said, pulling at his arm. "Don't be paranoid," he replied, but even he looked uneasy. At 11:50 p.m., the power went out again. This time it didn't come back. The house plunged into darkness, and someone screamed. People scrambled for their phones, their flashlights casting shaky beams of light across the room. That's when I noticed the man was gone. Panic spread like wildfire. A few people rushed to the door, only to find it locked. "Who locked this?" someone shouted, pounding on the heavy wood. I checked the windows. They wouldn't budge. The house, so lively just an hour ago, felt like a tomb. At 11:55 p.m., we heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, circling the house. No one wanted to check who it was. We huddled together in the center of the living room, our flashlights darting toward every creak and groan. At 11:58 p.m., the man's voice echoed from somewhere in the house. "Why are you still here?" It was calm, almost amused, but it sent a chill down my spine. At 11:59 p.m., the sound of breaking glass came from the kitchen. One of the guys, Vikas, grabbed a bat and stormed toward the noise, shouting, "Whoever you are, get out!" We heard the bat hit something once, twice, and then a thud. "Vikas," someone called out, but there was no reply. At midnight, the front door creaked open. Everyone froze. For a moment, there was only silence. Then the man stepped into the doorway, his face partially illuminated by the moonlight. "It's time," he said, smiling. The lights flickered back on, and he was gone. So was Vikas. The door was wide open, but no one dared step outside. We left in the morning, silent and shaken. The housekeeper told us there was no record of anyone locking the door or seeing the man arrive. As for Vikas, he was never found. Now, every New Year's Eve, I think about that man, his pale face, his voice, and his words. I haven't gone to a New Year's party since. It was late, and I was stuck on the highway, alone, heading home from work on New Year's Eve. My office had called me in for some last-minute reports, and by the time I finished, the streets were deserted. The city was alive with celebrations, but the road ahead was quiet, eerily so. I had planned to meet my family before midnight, but now it seemed unlikely. My only companion was the faint hum of my car engine and the occasional flicker of the streetlights. Around 11:20 p.m., my car's fuel light blinked on. Cursing my luck, I remembered passing a gas station a few kilometers back. I didn't want to risk running out in the middle of nowhere, so I decided to turn back. The gas station was small, one of those 24-hour ones with a single pump and a dimly lit convenience store. When I pulled in, there was only one other car parked, an old, beat-up sedan. Its driver was nowhere to be seen. As I stepped out to pump fuel, I noticed something odd. The air felt heavy, almost suffocating. There were no sounds, no insects, no distant fireworks, nothing. Just silence. I went inside to pay, and that's when I saw him. The man behind the counter looked normal at first glance, but something about him felt off. He had a blank stare, and his movements were slow, almost robotic. "Late night?" he asked, his voice flat. "Yeah, heading home for New Year's," I replied, forcing a smile. He didn't respond, just kept staring at me as he rang up the total. When I handed him cash, his cold fingers brushed mine, and I swear it sent a shiver up my spine. As I turned to leave, he said something that made me stop in my tracks. "You shouldn't be out on this road tonight." I looked back at him, confused. "Why not?" He didn't answer, just stared past me, out the window, as if he was watching something or someone. Unnerved, I hurried back to my car, fueled up, and got back on the highway. But his words stuck with me. At 11:40 p.m., the fog rolled in. It was sudden, thick, and blinding. I slowed down, gripping the steering wheel tightly as the road disappeared in front of me. My heart raced. I hadn't seen another car for miles, and now I could barely see 5 feet ahead. That's when I noticed the sedan. It was in my rearview mirror, its headlights piercing through the fog. It had to be the same car from the gas station. It stayed behind me, keeping the same distance no matter how much I sped up or slowed down. At 11:50 p.m., it began flashing its headlights. I didn't stop. Something about it felt wrong, like a primal instinct telling me to keep going. The flashes grew more frantic, and then the car started honking. At 11:55 p.m., the sedan swerved into the oncoming lane and pulled up beside me. I glanced over, and my blood ran cold. The driver wasn't human. His face was pale and featureless, like a mannequin. His hands gripped the wheel, and his head tilted unnaturally toward me, as if he were studying me. Then he did something that froze me in place. He smiled. Not a friendly smile, but something twisted and unnatural, stretching his face far beyond what was possible. I slammed on the accelerator. The sedan fell back, its headlights vanishing into the fog. At 11:59 p.m., my car stalled. I was in the middle of the highway, the fog so thick I couldn't see anything around me. The engine wouldn't start. I fumbled with my phone, but there was no signal. Then I heard it, a knock. It came from the passenger side window. Slowly, I turned my head. The man from the gas station was standing there, staring at me through the glass. His lips didn't move, but I heard his voice clear as day. "I told you not to be out tonight." Before I could react, he vanished, as if swallowed by the fog. The car engine roared back to life, and without thinking, I floored it. I made it home just after midnight, shaking and drenched in sweat. My family was celebrating, cheering as the clock struck 12. I didn't say a word about what happened. The next day, I checked the news. There was a report of a multi-car pileup on the same stretch of highway I'd been on. The cause? An old sedan driving the wrong way. The driver was never found.